Today on the Daniel Baldwin Show, viewer mail and is the NFL rigged? Coming at you right now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Daniel Baldwin Show and thank you for watching. Let's get right to it with viewer mail. Ted Slocum of Nashville, Tennessee says, "Hey Daniel, you got anything on the Mike Tomlin story? Love your show, by the way." So for those of you who don't know, Mike Tomlin has been the head coach for almost decades, plural, of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very loved, very respected, really good guy, good for the game. The story that has broken out was the fact that he decided to step aside as head coach when the ownership in Pittsburgh was going to continue on their pursuit of another title with him being the head coach. Kind of unexpected. He said, I'm done. And now, of course, like the University of Michigan, there's all these unsubstantiated stories about Mike Tomlin and extramarital stuff and blah, 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 blah. All the way through, payoffs that have been negotiated with the young woman. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, I got something on it. It seems like it's all BS. It really does. To throw those types of things at Mike Tomlin and his family, his children, his wife, the people that have loved him, the players that support him, the front office, the fans, everybody, with what seems to be totally made up information is awful to do. Just because the guy decided to move on and he doesn't want to coach in Pittsburgh right now. He thinks it's time to be home and take care of some business, I guess, there. Whatever his reasons are to taint his reputation and his history, his legacy, with stories like this when they're unsubstantiated. Listen, if a story breaks out that has some factual, basis to it, it becomes the responsibility of the people who report these things to go ahead and investigate them for sure. But there doesn't really seem to be anything real about this or any truth to it. So I'm going to say, Ted, thank you for writing, but no, I'm not buying it. Today's show kind of shadows this next viewer mail. I'm going to drink my coffee, ducking out, and I'm coming back in and drinking my coffee while I tell you this one. Because remember that I have worked for ESPN still as an actor. Had a show that was on ESPN, or radio kind of podcast show when I was in New York. And then before that, I was on probably the biggest sports show of its time, rivaled SportsCenter and all of that, was called the Best Damn Sports Show, period, for Fox. And I was on that for a while. So it's not like I'm just an actor that, doesn't know or is brought on because, we want to have an actor's view. I think they were quite surprised when I got on Fox because I took Tom Arnold's place, and Tom, knew something about sports, but he really wasn't, nowhere near as much as I do. And I don't say that to say anything bad about Tom. Tom was kind of a wild card and a jokester, and like he does a lot of his roles. So when I got there and they would ask questions, in the boardroom before we got on, I'd say, "Well, I know him. Do you want me to call him?" And they go, "I'm sorry, so-and-so, or Cal Ripken, or Rafael Palmeiro, or this NFL player?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was at his wedding. Yeah, I have played golf with them many times." Or yeah. So I had access from a lot of different reasons because I love sports so much, and I had a lot of information available to me. So this question that's about to be asked of this show from James Jackson. Let me ask you the question. James Jackson of Houston, Texas says, "Hi, Daniel. My wife and I love your show." She says hello too. Hi, Mrs. Jackson and James. Thank you for writing into the show. Now, I want you this is the question. And I've had to think about this for many, many years. And I want to say unequivocally no. I want to say, do you think the NFL is rigged? I've heard all the theories. I've watched questionable calls. I've watched stuff but last night, I'm telling you that I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep. after watching the Buffalo Bills-Denver Broncos game. Now, there's games today, and this show should come out that you're watching with me right now on Tuesday. But I felt it was so bothering me, I came into my studio and I decided to do this show because, man. So let's do this first of all, James. Let's answer, originally, let's take the first take on, which I hope not. I would really hate to think so. Now, with that said, have there been games that have been rigged before? Many scandals. There have been many scandals that prove that there was point shaving, and particularly in basketball. So a team is favored by 15, like college, the Boston College scandal. And they just said, listen, just don't win by 15 or more. Miss a couple, throw a couple balls away late in the game. Make sure it comes in at 10. You still win. Blah, 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 blah. So could that be coordinated by some gambling type people? Could an NFL game could you find a referee or even a couple of referees that would take $100,000 and you bet, spread out $1 million worth of bets around the country? Yes, these are human beings. The allure of cash, the allure of how easy and accessible that is. People sin, and people sin for money. My God, so much. So is that possible, that a small controlled pocket of it? But I think what the question is a bigger question. The question that I struggle with. And that would mean if it was all the way to the top, that would mean Roger Goodell and the networks, whoever the powers that be, turn around and determine whether Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, for the reasons of ticket sales, promotion, viewership, blah, 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 blah. Could they control, meaning that power team, could they go down to a referee and say, hey boys, Kansas City wins this game. I don't care what, don't make it obvious, but I have a hard time believing that that's true. I do. I know Roger Goodell, he's a good guy. He's done great things for the game. I just have such a hard time believing that that's true. But I will say, let's show the Cook catch. Let's show the Cook catch. And I call it the Cook catch because there's a few things that blow me away about this game last night. So let's watch this one.
Coming after him all out.
They pick it up and they go deep down the field. And the pass is caught. No, it's McMillan has the football. How about that? Jaquan Mack.
Okay, now the pros in the booth, he didn't control the ball on it all the way to the ground. Okay, well, hang on a second. Yes, he did. By the rules of what a catch is. Now, they're not talking about he was in the end zone, he had his feet, and he landed on the ground, and the ball fell out. They're not talking about that. He was contacted. So the rule was he had the ball, he had control. His back hit with the player on him. The second his back touched the ground, he was down by contact. Then he rolls and pulls the ball out. Now, again, he didn't control it long enough. Show me the rule that says it's 1.2 seconds, that says it's 0.05 seconds. That's it. He caught that ball. Now, here's another interesting fact about this. You as the head coach are allowed to challenge. You're allowed to throw a red flag on and say, listen, I want to challenge this call. Buffalo called a timeout. I guess they wanted to review whether or not they were going to challenge. They didn't challenge the call. This is a catch. The game's going to be over, pretty much. They didn't challenge the call. I was shocked that they didn't challenge this call. What would McDermott, the head coach of Buffalo, been thinking that he didn't throw that red flag in on that play? I can't, for the life of me, understand how he didn't challenge that call. At least bring it to the booth and let them decide. At least you try, because that was a catch by my definition. I've heard guys, online already. I did a lot of research on this. Brian Baldwin, a good friend of mine from my hometown, played at Massapequa High School. I played at Burner. Brian had a long, illustrious career as an offensive lineman in the NFL, played at Duke, And I love Brian. I mean, he said that's not a catch. I watched this thing. That's not a catch. And I thought, Brian, what are you watching? What are you watching? That's a catch. Okay. So there's that incident, right? But that's not the one that bothered me the most. Let's show the no pass interference call in the end zone. Let's show this play right now.
It's the correct call. Nice shot. Gene Steratore, I see a little tug and an arm hold.
Okay, so clearly, the defensive back grabs his arm and pulls his arm down. Now remember, there's referees all over the field. There's a guy right there that his job is to watch for the contact before the ball gets there, whether or not the receiver catches it and his feet are in bounds, and it's a touchdown. There's a guy right there that, watch this now, ready? Okay, Daniel, I want you to look at the camera, and if you see anything funny while we're shooting, anything in the background, anything, that's your job. That's your job. Now, of course, I'm making up a hypothetical right now about going like this and looking at, so the ball goes up in the air, and you're the referee, and you see it coming towards your side of the field, towards the sidelines, coming to the end zone. I mean, you watch the whole thing, the trajectory. It's not 10 minutes long, but it's not 1 second where you got to really watch. It's up in the air coming. So you know the play is coming to your side, near the end zone. You're in control as the referee to make the call. And you watch him literally pull his arm down. The epitome of what pass interference is. Did you make contact that impeded the receiver and prevented him from catching the ball? This is so fucking obvious that this is pass interference. How is that not called? This is how these types of speculations occur when you go, well, that was obvious. He obviously put his finger in his nose. I saw it. It's on videotape. It's on national television. But no, I didn't see him put his finger in his nose. I didn't see it. I'm not going to make the finger in the nose call right now. Wow. I mean, this changes pass interference in the end zone, puts the ball on the 1 yard line or the 2 yard line, and Buffalo probably wins the game, don't you think? No call. I mean, obvious pass interference. So I can't for the life of me understand why a referee, when it's that brutally, blatantly obvious, would not make a call. And that does make me wonder, does this guy have money on the game? Is he in with a group? Has he been told by officials, we're not going with Buffalo this year? Josh Allen and the team are not going. Now, I want to tell you something else, too, that I was impressed with, but I could have a go at Josh Allen right now, too. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen took the blame for the team's Saturday night elimination from the divisional round of the 2025 NFL playoffs. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight, Allen said in an emotional post-game press conference following the Bills' 33-30 overtime loss to the Denver Broncos. I agree with Josh Allen. I agree with him. I'll tell you why. When you're the stepchild, you're that close. You know, you're the side chick. You're whatever you want to use as a slang term, as the one that just doesn't quite get there yet. Which he hasn't really gotten his team to where they need to be. And here's another: he didn't get to the AFC Finals this year. And I'm going to look at the catch with Cook, the catch that Cook came to the ground. If you look, Cook has to turn around and come back to the ball because Josh Allen underthrew that ball. He did. Cook was open. Had he thrown that ball another 5 feet longer. Now, again, I know we're talking about pressure situations, people trying to time, but I'm not making $12 million a year. I'm not the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills that are, we're waiting for them to win their championship. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I'm from New York. I love the team. Jim Kelly and some of those boys are my friends, and I thought Josh underthrew that ball. There was, the tight end was wide open. There were multiple low thrown balls that you look to the receivers and they're reaching down, off the ground trying. Listen, man, when the game is on the line, the difference between champ and chump is you. You are the difference between champ and chump. So I I really love Josh Allen. I love the Bills, but I do agree with that statement. I think he missed some plays. He missed some plays. He did drive him down to tie it up. Granted, they used a trick play to spark that, a little hook and ladder that they used to get close enough. But no, I think Josh missed some opportunities. I think that had he been a little sharper, Buffalo wins this game. Now, let's take a look at what happens after the game. I thought this was amazing. Because if the fixing of games, if the rigging of games is real, and it's done up at a league level, let's just say, or a network television level, or the big, powerful people that make billions of dollars on these. After the game, during their press conference for Denver, they announced that on the second to last play of the game, Bo Nix hurt his ankle, will undergo year-ending ankle surgery on Tuesday, and will not be available to play for the rest of the season. So, do you think that those people, if they possibly fix that game, had they known that, they wouldn't have had Josh Allen win the game? They wouldn't have put Buffalo and Josh Allen's team in the finals, into the AFC finals? I don't know. But if so, holy backfire, because the odds change from plus 350 to plus 900. The backup quarterback hasn't thrown a ball in 2 years. This is going to be a tremendous uphill climb for the Denver Broncos. And unforeseen, obviously, they didn't know the guy second to last play hurt his ankle. He was walking a little bit funny, and I guess they got results really quickly or whatever. But the question does remain. Let me read this to you. There is no concrete evidence to support the claim that the NFL is rigged in terms of predetermined outcomes, but the league frequently faces scrutiny over officiating, perceived bias towards certain teams, and the influence of sports gambling. While many fans and some observers have pointed to questionable calls or specific storylines as evidence of manipulation, these theories remain largely speculative. Okay, so again, I'll tell you, if I know something or heard something, and I've heard rumors and whispers, I would tell you. I just wouldn't name the source and put their life in jeopardy or get them in trouble or whatever. I have to say, there have been proven the 1908 Chicago White Sox or the Black Sox scandal, a number of members, 8 men on the White Sox, fixed and rigged the World Series. That's the World Series. That's like the Super Bowl in baseball. So, yeah, they did that. Now, that was a small group approached by gamblers, and they took the money. Bingo. That's it. It was about money. So it is possible. What's disturbing, I remember reading this, the Kansas City Chiefs Taylor Swift effect. Recent theories have suggested the NFL promotes the Kansas City Chiefs to capitalize on the media attention surrounding Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift to boost ratings. So, do I believe that they do that? Yes, I do. Do I think they change the outcome of games? I can't prove that. Or again, I would hope not. But I will say this, the amount of attention cameras put on the guests, I've never seen anything like it before. Joe Namath was a very famous, handsome quarterback in New York, way bigger than Kansas City, and fur coats on the sidelines, white cleats, all of it. Namath women, Mantle men. He teamed up with Mickey Mantle. He was known as like kind of a playboy character. Joe was. I know Joe. He's a great guy. But that was part of his whole thing. Never have I seen the kind of coverage. So why would the league do that? Why would the league show Travis Kelce catch a ball and then cut every time to the booth and watch her go, "Oh, Travis, oh." Okay, so the reason why is because it brought in a completely different demographic. We started watching young girls and young guys, a different generation of non-football audience people watching the games. It opened up doors for, imagine NFL games with makeup commercials. Imagine NFL games with music commercials. Imagine stuff that really wasn't as prevalent. It opened the door through the Kansas City Chiefs and this relationship between a player and a pop star. And yes, I believe the NFL exploited that. There were rumors going on, and I mean, I heard this from some pretty substantial people twice, that if Kansas City, who had a terrible year, moved forward, that there was going to be some, halftime at one of the games, he was going to ask her to marry him. And it was all set up. They were talking about doing it. And of course they didn't. And now it looks like he might retire. I don't know what they're going to do in Kansas City right now. But there's no question that's true. There's no question that they took great advantage and went out of their way to exploit the relationship of a player with a pop star. They did that. And I think that fueled a little bit people looking at this right now and saying, wow, can the league have that kind of influence on something that goes on? Did they situate her in ways? They planted cameras up there? They did all kinds of stuff. So, star team favoritism. Long-standing accusations exist that the league protects star players and favors high-profile teams for better entertainment value, such as past accusations surrounding Tom Brady. There are teams that have national and international popularity and fame, and they carry just more. The Dallas Cowboys, when I think of the NFL, somebody was smart enough to brand them back in the Tom Landry 1970s, as America's team. They had a star on there. They had Roger Staubach, who was a Naval Academy graduate. They had him as their quarterback. I mean, they just were America's team. And what a great branding, like the Raiders were the bad boys in football. They were outlaws, they were, thugs, and they hit you harder than other teams. When you watched Raider football, when the Raiders were coming, it was the hate factor. You wanted to hate the Raiders because of who and what they were. There are athletes that carry that. Larry Bird for sure played in a league where as a smaller number of white players versus a very large number of African Americans. So he was the great white hope. He was the guy. And they exploited that. They exploited the relationship between Magic and Larry all the time. It's what really prepped everything up for Michael Jordan to take the league off. And then their popularity grew like never before. Never before. They're trying to bounce back since Michael's left the game. LeBron can't carry it. He's never carried it. What player is going to step up to carry that rivalry that went on between the Lakers and the Boston Celtics? So there are things that I believe the league can grab onto, depending upon what pro sport it is. But we're talking about the actual outcome of a game, the actual game being steered in an illegal way towards what it is they think. And I have to say this, if the referee, if the player, if the guy on the team can say something or influence the outcome of a game. Now imagine in the NFL, you could get to a quarterback, or you could be, 2 days before, and they come to you and they say, you're not winning this one. It reminds me of the old, boxing stories where you had to lose one before they gave you a shot at the title. Jake LaMotta is a great example of that. And when they did his story, they talked about him crying, saying, what did I do? What did I do? They suspended him for a little while because he took a dive, and they bet on him when he was favored to win. They bet on the other guy. They got big odds. And then the mob and the people that control that sport at that time turned around. So boxing and boxing being rigged, even at a championship level, has been well documented. And it has happened. And it's been proven. And it's been exploited in film and books and interviews and storylines and blah, blah. So what would make that so difficult to believe? What would make that at least at a player level? Now, if the league turned around and called you and your Tom Brady, who obviously didn't rig too many Super Bowls because he won 6, I think. But what would stop you from the league telling you, we'll ruin you. You'll never play again. And there's guys who have never played again. There's a guy from the San Francisco 49ers who kneeled during the national anthem, and he never played in the league again. And he was in the Super Bowl like a year or so before. So just remember, there are powers that be that are greater than your ability to play, for sure. I still sit here now, and I want to say, God, I haven't seen enough evidence to prove, and I haven't gotten somebody, from the league that said, yes, we were aware of, and we fixed that game. Now, this is a world where quite a bit of evidence is coming out now that suggests that we didn't land on the moon. So could you cover that up? Could you actually make that up? And they've shown ways it could have been done, and the Van Allen radioactive bands that we couldn't get around, and blah 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 blah, and it just goes on and on and on. So I want to say, God, I hope not. I really do. I hope not. I hope that the league wouldn't have anything to do with the outcome. But I want you to remember something. There was a saying that was created back during the Watergate scandal in the 70s, and it was follow the money. That's where that term came. And so when you have gambling is involved and there's money directly involved in the outcome of a game, and imagine you're in Vegas and you go, listen, Denver is going to play the winner of today's game. Let's just say that it's New England. Denver is going to play New England, and the money is all going on New England. I mean, 85%, 90% of the money. I imagine a vast majority of the money is going to go on whoever Denver plays now that the quarterback is hurt, Bo Nix is out. So the idea that they can make that call and go, hey, listen, do you know how much money we're talking? Everyone is betting the other team. And then a couple of flags go up. Look at the game with the Bills. I mean, had you take 3 penalties and either call them or don't call them, or and Buffalo's going to the AFC Finals. You call that pass interference in the end zone, which it was obvious, blatant pass interference. You call that, and Buffalo's going to beat Denver in Denver, but they didn't call that. And this is where this question comes from, when obvious stuff, I mean, I've seen in basketball too, where, it's faster, more scoring because they're going up and down the court, but like someone just clobbers somebody and they don't call it, and I go, and it's in the last 2 minutes. And then you look at the point spread, and the point spread's, 12, and it's at 15 now, and they call a foul or don't call a foul when the guy, on the team that was getting the 12 points, is it coincidental? I mean, I guess if there's enough chances of it, they're going to miss some. But man, that call they missed in the end zone against Buffalo was pretty hardcore, pretty blatant. So I think maybe if we had rules that would investigate a referee, that would put him on suspension. I mean, listen, if a player misses a wide open receiver or quarterback, or a receiver drops a ball late in the fourth quarter and then does it again. I mean, when it's just laid right there like a loaf of bread, and he just drops it, you got to wonder, well, what's going on with him? He's a pro. Like when I watch guys miss balls in clutch situations, sometimes you can see the ball come and he starts to look upfield because he's already past the catch. He hasn't made the catch yet, but he's thinking past the catch. And he took his eyes off the ball. There's another saying called, he heard footsteps. He's in the middle of the field, not out, a wide receiver out wide. He's going over the middle where the big guys are that might hit him. And he goes like that, and he kind of cringes because he knows it's coming. And he drops the ball because he heard footsteps. He heard them getting, they're yelling at him as they're about to stick their helmet into his back. And he drops the ball. That happens too. But when a guy's wide open and drops a ball, again, where does your mind go? Your mind goes, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's on the take. Like, you're a pro. You're making millions of dollars to catch a ball thrown to you. I mean, we're not talking about, a sniper under fire in Fallujah. You know what I mean? Like, that's pressure. So I have to tell you that it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to think that there's the possibility that some higher power in the league intervenes on the outcome of a game. Because you think about how much of your heart you put into watching a team and supporting them and buying tickets and watching them on TV and buying their merch and all the things when you're a fan. and I'm a fan of the Buffalo Bills. People don't realize that my mother's father played for the 1923 Buffalo All-Americans, the original, before they were called the Bills, the original franchise. My grandfather, who I'm named after, played for them. So I have a real love for the Bills. I'm a Giants fan. I love the Bills in the AFC side, and I want them to win. I want them to win because I love the Bills. And I love Jim Kelly, and I love what that team stood for, going to 4 Super Bowls in a row. Can you imagine? And sadly, those guys not getting a title. Jim deserved that. He deserved that title. He deserved to win one. So I can go on and on and on and on about my connection with Buffalo, but man, I don't want to leave this show right now thinking to myself that there's the possibility, but I guess it's possible. I guess it's possible. Do I believe, the question really was, do I believe that NFL games are rigged? At a high level like the league and everything? No, I haven't seen any evidence that would substantiate those rumors. Do I think human beings are fallible and a referee or two could be involved? That's happened several times. In fact, in 2007, NBA referee Tim Donaghy pleaded guilty to betting on games he officiated and providing insider information. He's a referee. He bet on the games that he's on the court. Foul, out of bounds, walk, this, that, whatever he called. He bet on those games. Pete Rose, legendary player, most hits ever in professional baseball. I knew Pete. I loved Pete. I thought Charlie Hustle deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. They finally now dropped the lifetime ban. Pete's gone, though, so he never got to see it, and I'm sure he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. Shoeless Joe Jackson from the 1908 Chicago Black Sox scandal that I quoted was one of the 8 men that were kicked out. He's now available. I'm sure he's eventually going to go in based on their merits, not based on. But Pete bet on games, according to Pete, never games that he was coaching. He was at the time the coach of the Cincinnati Reds, but he bet on baseball games, which was taboo. He couldn't do that. Man, I'll add this in before I close. If there was a way to prove, or someone had the information that would just ironclad close the door and we could prove that there was anybody at a high level, even network television, or remember, this all feeds into who's going to the Super Bowl. So for you to say that there's a matchup between a city like Kansas City or New York or Dallas versus, a smaller town or city that has a team, Cincinnati. Again, where would you rather, if you're selling advertisement and you're trying to make money? You'd rather have New York go in. You'd rather have Boston go in. You'd rather have, a big powerhouse city go into the game. It's like the Milwaukee Brewers trying to compete with the New York Yankees. That's not going to happen. It's Milwaukee, great town, but they just don't have the number of fans and the influence and the power viewership-wise that a New York does. I'm going to close with this prediction. So we have the University of Miami, Indiana Hoosiers. I went to Ball State University in Indiana. Indiana, to me, was always Bobby Knight basketball. They weren't a powerhouse in football. I still don't think they're a powerhouse in football. They've had a great year. This coach has really, turned them around. They've been taken more seriously over the last 10 years, but they're not a powerhouse in football. They're not even, no matter what happens this year, they have to do this for the next decade. They have to be in and around and qualify each year, to go to the playoff. They got to beat the Ohio States, the Michigans. And can they sustain that? God, I think that would be great for football. I think it would be great for the division because there's been, 1, 2, maybe 3 teams that are dominant, and particularly Michigan and Ohio State in the Big Ten. So, but here's my prediction. And this is I believe that Indiana has not really been in this kind of limelight before. And I wonder, they've got a quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy. He's very talented. I'm not sure how much pressure he's had on him. Now, Miami is a different story. Those guys are gunslingers down there. Their tradition has been more kind of gangsterish. They come at you fast and furious. You never know 100% what you're going to do. They're not as steady as Indiana. But in a game where Miami does not pressure this quarterback, Indiana could blow them out. I mean, it could be a boring game. So I'm going to predicate my prediction on this fact. If Miami gets after Mendoza and pressures him, it'll be really interesting to see how he performs, because I don't think he's really had many games where he had to really play under relentless pressure. And defensive packages that move a lot, that he has to look at his reads, and they can confuse him. It could be a tight one, and Miami wins the game. I mean, not just covers the spread, but upsets Indiana. Number 10, upsetting number 1. Now, like I said, if he sits back in the pocket and they let him just sit there and give him all kinds of time and Miami can't get after him, then he'll pick them apart. And that's what he's used to doing. That's what he's very good at. Remember, if there's pressure on the quarterback, it could be a long day for Mendoza. That's my prediction. No pressure, Indiana wins. Pressure on the quarterback, they could be in trouble. Now, if we come back and watch this game and they pressure the crap out of him and he stood up, I'll eat it and I'll say that. I will admit it. But that's what I see. I think the whole game is predicated on how much pressure Miami can bring on this Indiana quarterback, period. And it won't matter the other side if Indiana brings it again. It's predicated on whether Miami brings pressure to force this kid to throw before he's comfortable. And that's what I think it's gonna be like. Look out for the Miami Hurricanes. Hey, listen, everybody, thank you so much for watching the show. I really appreciate you. If there's the possibility that you can hit like, that you can subscribe to the show, that you can share the show and get the word out there about the show, I truly appreciate it. And we're going to end the way we always do on my show. And it's amazing, the controversial nature of my praying at the end of my show. I had a guy actually write, yeah, you're the brother that prays on his show. Like, what? And it was like, I'm not going to tell you what was written after that, but I just thought it was, yeah, I'm the one that prays at the end of the show. That's me. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you for your guidance and your continued protection over all of us and our families and our loved ones, our associates. You are the most powerful. We love you, Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And I say amen to your hand over me and my family. It is such an exciting time for me personally and for all the people that listen to our show that comment on how much they love the fact that we talk about the Lord at the end of every show that we do. Every single time, without exception, we end with a prayer to give thanks and to praise Jesus Christ. So, Lord, thank you so much. And I pray for everyone that's watching the show today. And I pray for all the people that make big decisions, that they do it in a godly and a Christ-first way. In your name we pray, amen. Christ-first way. What a great way to think about it. And that just came out of my mouth. I don't rehearse anything. I say the same thing about protection and guidance at the beginning of my prayer, because it's what I really want from the Lord. Thy will be done. When I'm left operating the ship, when I'm left making the decisions, I historically have made some very bad decisions. I'm nowhere near the husband that I am, and I'm a really good husband. I promise you. Ask my wife. I'm nowhere near as good a father, a friend, a business associate. I'm just not. And when I ask myself the question, and I always say this, and I say it to my kids, act as though Jesus is standing right next to you in the decisions and the way you carry yourself and the things you do. Do I slip? Do I curse on this show sometimes? Do I? Of course I do. And I'm not perfect. And I watch the show sometimes and I go, you should clean up your language a little bit. You get too excited and you say this word. Probably shouldn't say this word. So I'm not professing that I'm perfect or I'm better than you or anything else. I'm just saying I try to act as if Jesus is standing next to me, because he is. Because he's with me in this room right now, guiding me as I talk to you, pushing me into being better, into being excellent. It's such a great relationship. It really is. So I invite you to, and you can write me about Jesus. You can write me about whatever you believe. You can debate me about it. You can, in your questions, when I get these questions, they come in from a variety of sources, from Truth Social to Instagram to, YouTube to TikTok to whatever. I get a lot of questions from people. And unfortunately, unless we did a follow me around for 6 months, I can't get to all of them. So we pick out ones that are fun and interesting to talk about, or I just come up with something that I want to go through, and I grab one. I go, oh, I like that question. Not often. A lot of times, I just get them and they're handed to me. But yeah, man, we can talk about God too. I'm cool with that. The more I think about this, and I've debated this before, maybe we'd be better off just when I knock out this show, the Daniel Baldwin show, I do another show that's more about Jesus. I'm wondering. So let me know what your opinion on that is. Would people come watch that? I think so. I think there's still enough of us that love the Lord and that put him first in our life. So maybe that's something for me to consider. The most fun I have when I'm running around with the camera is with my son, Bat. Trust me, I've thought about how fun it would be to have Bat on a show. Just he and I sitting here and him eating, one of his snacks, talking to me about dinosaurs. And I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities in the world. With God, there's anything. There's so many things. So amen to you. I will talk to you soon. God bless you.